It's really my pleasure to be here with you. So to tell you a little bit about me, I'm still in practice 3 days a week. And I get to spend time with you and my clients and help you guys build the practice of your dreams and make your practice a masterpiece and really tap into the potential that you have as team members and as dentists and as leaders to tap into that potential and to become more profitable while still having fun, because it is fun. Okay, so I want everybody up. I know everybody's just gotten settled, but everybody up, please. I told you this is going to be interactive. So Linda this morning did the, how many years have you been in dentistry and all that stuff. So we're going to do this a little bit different. I want to have all the dentists sit down, because they definitely need a break for sure, right? He's not sure. Are you sure, John? You maybe today? Okay. Okay. Well, you're still, you're half and half. You're now, hold that. So, and then the rest of you are team members. How many are hygienists? Okay, one. How many administrators, practice administrators? Okay, the majority. Dental assistants, chair side. All right, excellent. So you guys can have a seat. And, truly we owe it to you guys, because you are the people that keep us on the path and that make things happen for us every day. And we certainly could not do the dentistry that we are, love to do without our team. So thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting your doctors every single day. All right, so why are you here? Why are we doing this? Why are you spending 2.5 days out of your busy practice and out of your lives to be here? Well, I think part of the reason that you're here is you want to learn to be a little bit better and find a couple more ways to do things a little bit better. And so I do believe that you can truly do the dentistry that you love doing. So whether you want to focus on families or children or Invisalign or implants or whatever your passion is, you get to design that. And that's part of making your practice a masterpiece. So that's going to be different for every single one of you. And that's the beauty of dentistry, is that we get to custom design our practices. So why now? Why do we need to know this information now? Well, because our patients are living longer and they need good dentistry to be able to support their nutrition and their health well into their 80s and 90s, even hundreds, because patients are living longer. And so how does that impact us, and how does that affect us day to day? Well, it's a new world. And so we need all the tips and tricks and techniques that can help us be that much better. And that's one of the reasons that I work towards my fellowship in the AGD, which is a great program. That just helps me be a little bit more focused and a little bit better and learn a little bit more. Because, like Linda was saying this morning, education's never out for the pro. It's a continual process of learning. So you have a handout in your workbook. And I want to just, again, thank you for being here. And I truly believe that you can have a practice that is profitable. And I truly believe that you can do the dentistry that you love doing. And I truly believe that you can have fun doing it. So there's no reason in the world that you can't. And I truly believe that you can have higher case acceptance. So I'm going to show you some little tips and tools today. I have a couple hours to spend with you today. We could talk for days on some of these things. But I want to illuminate some of these ideas and share with you some of the things that I've learned, and hopefully you can take back to your practice as well. So I want you to turn to your neighbor on the right, and I want you to say, get ready, you're going to learn something. And then I want you to turn to your neighbor on the left and say, it's about time. All right. So why are you here? Why are we here? Why am I here? Why am I taking time away from my family? Why did I choose dentistry? Why are we here? Well, most of us chose dentistry, like Linda said this morning, because we want to help people. And most of us chose dentistry because we love giving, and we're natural caretakers at heart. And so you all have, or you should, maybe some of you that got squished in the back of the room don't have a index card, but all of you should have an index card at your place. And so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take the index card, whatever your color is, and we're going to group together. I know it's a tight squeeze in this room, but we're close knit. Does anybody else need a card? Okay. Will you pass those back to the back? I can't get back there, I'm trapped. I'd like you to take the color of your card and have the green cards meet up in this corner of the room, and the yellow cards meet in this corner of the room, and the orange and the pink. And I know it's a little bit tricky in this room, but just humor me for a second. And I want you to share, yeah, come on, you can start moving. I want you to share with the group in your color what made you get into dentistry and why you chose dentistry as a profession. Okay, the orange group. Who, Dr. Kerr? Can't you be the leader? What were some of the reasons that your group got into dentistry? Yeah. Yeah, so relationships, caring, flexibility, the ability to be able to custom design or create that practice of your dream. So absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled that you all got into dentistry for different reasons, and it's certainly exciting. So thank you for sharing with each other. I do want to tell you a couple things. Obviously, you recognize the lady in the middle, that I didn't do this alone. I do have fabulous mentors, Dr. Frank Spear, Linda Miles, Dr. Pete Dawson, LD Pankey. And, Dr. Pankey shared this quote, anyone who's willing to give 100% is bound to succeed because there is no competition. And that's where you guys come in, and that's why you're attending meetings like Practiceology, because you do want to succeed and you're willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. So dentistry is such a fabulous profession, and we're so fortunate that we get to be a part of such a fabulous profession for so many different reasons. And so it's wonderful to bring everybody together and really get to change people's lives every single day. So how do we make our practice a masterpiece? Well, the first way we do that is through communication. And, Linda talked about the strong clinical skills that are needed in a practice to be successful. She also talked about the efficient business systems that are needed. We can't have just everybody doing what they think is the best thing and nobody communicating with each other, and the front office doing one thing and the back office doing another thing, and nobody on the same page. We have to have those systems in place for us all to work together as a team. We also have to have very effective communication and those strong clinical skills to be able to back all of that up and be able to make everything come together. Well, part of the communication and part of making that practice a masterpiece is leadership. And Linda also talked about leadership at all levels. And that's from the entry level dental assistant, in high school or fresh out of school, to the senior doctor. Everyone has to be willing to have that leadership and grow as a leader. And then marketing. How do we take the practice to the next level, and how do we attract those patients that we want? Because we can be the best clinician and we can have the best business systems and we can have the most effective communication skills, but if no patients call the office and schedule, then we're out of a job. And case acceptance. Again, we can attract all the patients in the world, but if we don't have that communication style and that relationship that all of you mentioned with our patients, when we present treatment to them and offer them options, if they say no, then where are we going to be? And we know that there's a lot of things that are in their best interest that we want to help educate them so that they can say yes. And the last part is being a profitable practice. Dentistry is high touch and it's high tech, and we have to marry those things together, and it is a business. We won't stay in business very long if we're not profitable. And that raises the stress level when the schedule's chaotic or patients cancel or don't pay their accounts that are aging, or when patients cancel their appointment, that raises the stress level. So all of those things sort of work together to help, when we have these in the right order and we have these under control, help make your practice a masterpiece. So let's talk about communication, and I want to kind of share with you the two areas that I think most relate communication to case acceptance. Well, one of the ways is communication to the team. So every day we have a morning huddle in my practice because we need to know what's happening, what happened the day before, what's happening today, what's happening tomorrow. So how many of you in here have a morning huddle on a regular basis? Excellent. You guys are already ahead of the game. It's so important to look at these things and to look at what opportunities the patients may have that we can help them accomplish while they're in the office. Maybe they're due for x-rays, or maybe they have a family member that's going to be with them that could be seen as well. Maybe they have treatment that's being diagnosed but not accepted. So those are all opportunities for us to look at and help the patients, say yes and to be more convenient. The other way we communicate is to the patient. I really work hard, and Rhonda Savage and I have been working together for the past few years, and I've really struggled with this because we've done this 1,000 different ways. When I went to Dawson Academy and Spear, they teach you how to do the new patient experience, and they teach you all these wonderful, fabulous things clinically. And then you come back to your practice, and the phone rings, or there's an emergency patient, or the patient won't get numb, or they're late, or a team member's sick, or whatever happens in the course of a normal day. The building's burning down, 12 phone lines are ringing, right? You haven't gone to the bathroom in 3 days, right? Right? And so we have to marry these things together to become more effective. Well, one of the ways that we did that is we tried a lot of different things. And so you will try a lot of different things as well. Some will work great. Some will stick the first time, everybody's on board, and they work beautifully. And some you'll have to try a little bit harder or tweak it a little bit to make it work. Well, one of the things that we've struggled with a lot is the new patient experience. And as I've been in with practices, that's one of the things that a lot of practices struggle with too. Do we put it on the doctor's schedule? Do we put it on hygiene schedule? How long? Who does it? How much? What do we include in it? So Rhonda and I have developed a 2-day course to cover that. We go through all the practice protocols, and I was kind of the guinea pig of putting this together because we've mastered how to educate the patient and how to help make that new patient experience unforgettable. Because just like Linda said this morning and last night, case acceptance doesn't start when the doctor presents treatment or the treatment coordinator presents treatment. Case acceptance starts on that first phone call and that first impression of your practice and that first visit and that first consult appointment or hygiene appointment or however it's structured in your office. That's where case acceptance starts. It starts way back at the beginning. And those patients, we want to knock it out of the park for them every single time because they are going to determine, number one, if they like you and they trust you and they build the relationship. And we have to work hard to make connections with those patients. Write this down. One of the things that you want to do with new patients is you want to make 3 connections with new patients before you put your hands in their mouths. So 3 connections. 3 connections could include anything from their career choice. Oh, you're a dentist, I'm a dentist. Their hobbies. Oh, you like tennis, I like tennis. Their dogs, their family. Oh, you have 2 children, I have 2 children. You have teenagers, I have teenagers. Making those connections, establishing that common ground. On patients that you're seeing routinely, making 2 connections with those patients is important because you're reestablishing that relationship before you start recommending, hey, Mrs. Jones, this tooth needs a crown, or, have you thought about this or whatever. So making those connections, keeping that relationship going because, talking to the patient and making them feel like that they're well cared for and that they're not just a set of teeth, okay? That there's a body and a person and a life attached to those teeth. So we do want to make that new patient experience unforgettable. And those things are related to case acceptance and how the patient responds and says yes to treatment. So let's look at communication and how we can make that stronger. You know, everything centers around the patient, whether it's us communicating to them, the doctor communicating to the patient, the team communicating to the patient, the specialist, if we refer them, everything centers around the patient. Talking to their dental benefit company on their behalf. Well, one of the ways that we communicate to the patient is on the phone. And like Linda said, the phone is the lifeblood of the practice. It's the first impression of you, and this can make or break you. And so we certainly want to sound friendly and knowledgeable, and we want to be empathetic. We also want to be professional. So the initial phone call sets the stage for case acceptance. In your handout, the initial phone call sets the stage for case acceptance. Can I give you a tip? I've been doing this for several years and it's worked beautifully. How many of you ever have a new patient that cancels or no-shows? Okay, let me tell you how to stop that or reduce it to almost nil. Team members, this is your job. You give your doctor a list of the new patients they're seeing the next week with the little snippet of information. Mrs. Jones is coming in for an Invisalign consult. She was referred by Susie Q. Mrs. Smith is coming in because she's interested in a smile makeover, and she was referred by Susie Joe. And doctors, this is your responsibility. You call those patients the night before or 2 nights before their appointment, and this is what you say. Hi, Mrs. Jones, this is Tanya Brown. I'm calling to introduce myself to you. I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. Michelle told me that you're interested in Invisalign. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about that. Have you had traditional ortho in the past? You know, what do your teeth look like? What can I have ready for you? What do you think that does to the patient when the doctor calls and spends 2 to 5 minutes? Do you think they're going to show up for their appointment? Yeah. And how long did it take me? Just a couple minutes. But that helps set the stage as well for case acceptance. That helps to cement that relationship because they know that Michelle has listened to what they said and she's transferred that information to me and I've repeated it back to them and I've told their story for them. And then guess what? We go one step further. In the morning huddle, if there's any information that I've found out the night before, guess who I share that with? My new patient coordinator. And then guess what? She gets to repeat that back. Dr. Brown told me that blah, 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 blah. And so now how does the patient feel? Special, important. Yes, exactly. And they're not going to not show up because you've already built that relationship with them. So just a little tip. The other thing we do is in all the dental softwares, you can print out a list of all the patients that you've seen that day. And my rule in my practice is that anybody that's had anesthetic, I call and check on them. And so that call goes something like this. Hi, this is Dr. Brown. I'm calling to check on you. I just wanted to see how great you're doing. Not if you're having any problems, but how great you're doing. Oh yeah, I'm doing great. Well, guess what that does? That makes them feel special. If there's any questions, that avoids them having to call the office tomorrow and ask the question. Yes? We use Dentrix. So in Dentrix, there's the daily huddle report, and on the back of that, it gives all the phone numbers and all the patients. It's a real, if you're not using that report in G4, it's a beautiful report. So I would recommend you use it. It automatically prints out every day if you're using it. But it's important to take good care of these patients because they are like gold, and you never know what's going on in their lives that you get to help touch, and you get to help change, and you get to be a part of. So this is Michelle. She answers the phone like nobody you've ever seen, and she does all of these things. The other thing Michelle does is she markets the practice. Well, first of all, she's an S off the chart, so she instantly connects with patients. But then when they start telling her their story, she starts marketing the practice. And she's not hard selling. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, you know, when they say, oh, I'm missing these teeth and I hate my partial or whatever, you know, all the stories that you hear every day. Michelle says to him, oh, well, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about that. Dr. Brown's probably going to want to get some impressions to study your bite. Well, what does that do? That saves 5 or 10 minutes of the dental assistant having to explain that we want to take impressions. Dr. Brown wants to study your bite, blah, 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 blah. Oh, let me go check. Okay, insurance covers it. Okay, no, they don't. You're 30 minutes into the appointment just figuring that out. If Michelle can save that time way up front, it's setting the stage. It's beautiful. It works beautifully. So she finds out their information, but she starts connecting and she starts building that relationship. So the number one goal of the new patient phone call is twofold. It's to schedule them, get them in the office over the threshold, but it's also to start building that relationship. So one of the ways we do that, this came from Catherine Eitel. We've kind of tweaked things a little bit, but her Have Them at Hello seminar from years ago, we use this phone sheet. So if you're using something that works great, wonderful, keep using it. If you're not using something and you want a copy of this, email me, I'm happy to send it to you. We have a couple different versions of this depending on what they're calling for, but it basically walks through different steps to gather their information, but to also build that relationship. And it helps us to gather what we need, but to also to build that relationship and start making those connections. So if you want a copy of this, email me, I'm happy to send it to you. The other thing that we do that's a little bit different is we make this hot pink. So if anybody walks up to the front desk or wherever Michelle is and they see a hot pink piece of paper in front of her, they know that that is a do not disturb zone because she is on the phone with a new patient. So it can be as simple as a color to signify, hey, this is important. She's on the phone with a new patient. So if you're not using a phone sheet, email me. If you're using it and it's a white piece of paper and you can't differentiate it from any other piece of paper, make it a color. Make it a hot pink or a yellow or orange. There's my email, Tanya@milesglobal.net. And any of these things that you want in the handout or anything like that, I'm happy to share with you. All right, so let's talk about leadership. Part of the successful practice is the business systems and the clinical skills and the communication, but really all of that is related to leadership because leadership is needed at every single level. So yes, communication is the cornerstone, but if we don't have a team of leaders, then who's going to step up when we need them to do something a little bit different? Who's going to pick up that piece of trash or that dead leaf off the plant? Or who's going to escort that patient home when they don't have a ride? Or who's going to make it happen when we have to work in an emergency patient? That's why we need a team of leaders every single day. Well, to me, leadership really means ownership. And when I say ownership, I don't mean ownership of the practice. That's not what I'm talking about. But leadership really means ownership of your decision to be in the practice every single day. And that's different. That's different. This team will lay down and take a bullet or let a car run over them for our patients and for me. So leadership is really about ownership. This is what eliminates the whining and the pity parties. They don't have time to nitpick and to whine and to have the drama. I have a new team member. My team is just like your team. I have 7 team members plus myself. In the last 5 years, we've had 8 babies born. We've had a hysterectomy. I just found out that my lead hygienist is out after this week for breast cancer. She's out for 4 to 6 months. We've had 2 fathers die. We've had a wedding. We've had, a niece tragically die. It's just unbelievable. These things you couldn't imagine, but they haven't missed a day. And when one is suffering or in a bad place or working through some personal issues, the other ones are there to pick them up. I'm telling you, one day I'm going to write a book, and it's just unbelievable. You can't make this stuff up. So it really is what eliminates the whining and the pity parties. And I do have a new team member because one of my team members has just recently decided to stay at home to be a full-time mom. And so I hired a new financial coordinator, and she came from a larger group practice, and she said, all my friends want to come work here. I said, well, wait a minute. We don't need all of them to come work here. They can come as patients, but, not yet, please. I don't have a lot of turnover. Let's keep it that way. But it's so cute because that was one of her biggest beefs with her previous practice, is that there was a lot of drama. And I said, you know what? We don't have that. I'm not going to tolerate that. So if you want drama, they're going to weed themselves out. So making that strong team and building that strong bond, and we have fun together. Our team meetings are fun, and we love each other. This was our Christmas picture from last year. So, how is your team on self-confidence? Sometimes you just know it when you see it. And I have a cat. That's not my cat. But I do have a cat, and this cat has some serious self-confidence. So sometimes you do just know it when you see it. So let's talk about marketing. How do we attract those patients? And, marketing is not a one single event and we're done. Marketing is an attitude. So I want to talk about some ideas that work. Well, I gave you one. Doctors, call your new patients. Number 2, ask for referrals. When somebody gives you a compliment, when the patients say, oh, this was the best dental visit ever. Oh, your hygienist was so nice. Oh, they took such good care of me. Oh, they scheduled me and accommodated me when I had an emergency. Oh, my insurance covered, XYZ procedure more than I thought it was going to. When they compliment you, take advantage of that and say, oh, I'm so glad that we were able to take good care of you. We love taking great care of our patients. If you have any friends or family that don't have a personal dentist, we'd love to take good care of them too. So ask for referrals. You can do an internal referral program, however you want to structure it, where you give them something and give the new patient something. Every state is going to be a little different. It's what you're comfortable with. It's not buying new patients, but it's thanking them for sending you new patients. And it's rewarding them as well. So marketing's not an event. It's an attitude. The other way that you can market is to network with specialists. Take your specialist to lunch. Meet your specialist team. Let your team meet their team. One of the doctors was telling me he's opening in 3 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, he's taking his team who's there ready to work, but the office isn't ready. He's taking them around to all the specialists that he's working with to meet the teams. How great is that? Another way to market is done with Smile Reminders or Demand Force. They have internal marketing that they can take and use your computer system and use your database and send out e-newsletters. They have a whole database on, sleep medicine, Invisalign, whitening, everything from A to Z, night guards, TMJ. So with Smile Reminders, that's who we happen to use in our office, but there's other good programs too. With Smile Reminders, we call Deb, our inside sales executive, and say, Deb, we want to talk about Invisalign this month or whitening. And she puts together the e-newsletter, and then it goes out. And that's all included as part of your monthly service. So there's lots of things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money. The other thing you can do is have promotions internally. So maybe in the summer or for holiday, you have a whiten your smile, have a white Christmas, something like that. There's all kinds of promotions. You just have to think outside the box. And this is something that is great to do with your dental team at a team meeting. Just list 100 ideas or 50 ideas or 20 ideas of different things that maybe they've seen in other practices that they've used, or maybe they've seen at their spas that they go to, or their plastic surgeons, or their referring doctors. Take that and adapt it to your office. Another thing is to use social media, Facebook, your website, LinkedIn, putting promotions on that, educating patients. You know, when we started doing some sleep medicine appliances, we put on Facebook and we had 3 patients call that same day that they were interested, you know, their husband snored or they snored, and they were interested in how that worked and what they could do. The same thing when we started using Velscope. We put on that we have new technology in the office, and they called and they wanted to come for their oral cancer screening. So just, it's using the resources that you already have. So we definitely sell image every single day. And if we don't smile and we're in dentistry, that's a problem. We need to be smiling. We need to be confident. And like I said earlier, making those connections with the new patients and with our existing patients. Complimenting our patients. Oh, I love that scarf. Oh, your new smile looks so great. Oh, I'm excited for you. Oh, you deserve this. You know, using the DISC personality profiles to communicate in their language is very, very important and very, very empowering. And then asking for those referrals. So here's a picture of one of my clinical areas, and these pictures in these frames are all patients. We do a photo shoot every year, and this is a blast. I started doing it about 9 years ago, and we invited all the patients that had had smile makeovers or ortho or, you know, whatever that we thought would look nice on the walls. And we started inviting them to our photo shoot. And I have a patient that's a hairstylist and I have another patient that's a makeup artist. And so we go down to the local photo studio and we invite them and we say, okay, you know, between 4 and 6, I want you to come. And so we get pictures of patients. So I don't have pictures of boats or the ocean or mountains on my wall. What do I sell? I sell teeth, I sell smiling, I sell confidence. So that's what I have on my walls. So every day, patients come in and say, oh, I love that smile, what a great smile. So you can buy these, sure. But when they know the person, because it's their neighbor, how cool is that? I even had a couple people like campaign to be on the wall. I said, well, we're gonna have to fix your teeth, so we can do that. So that's another way to market. So use what you have, being effective. You know, ideally, 50% of your new patients would come from internal marketing, which means that your existing patients are so thrilled to be a patient of yours that they send you new patients all the time. That's a wonderful sign. And when you're getting 1/3 to 1/2 of your new patients from your existing patients, you're doing things right. You're doing things right. If you're not, maybe we need to look at it. What could we do better? We may not be 1,000 times better, but we can be better in 1,000 different ways. So ask them, ask them, ask them. And then thank them for referring. Whether you send a note, whether you send them a gift, whether you give them a Visa gift card, a credit on their account, I don't care. But acknowledge that they sent you a patient and thank them. So we definitely sell image every single day. And it really only takes a few seconds for patients to perceive if they like you and if they want to do business with you and if they trust you. And since we sell image, we as dentists need to have a good image, a professional image, as well as our team. My personal feeling is that we don't have scrubs at the front desk, because that sends a mixed message between clinical and administrative. You know, I want the front desk team to look like, you know, very professional in a jacket or in a nice button-up shirt or blouse and in nice pants, not in scrubs and tennis shoes, because they're the business side of the practice. And I like the clinical team to be matching so that they look like they're all the same team. You know, when they come in and everybody's in a different color and everybody's in a different outfit, they don't look like they work together and play together. So we want them to be matching. So let's talk about case acceptance. I know, it's not very much fun. I had a girlfriend, my dental school partner, her name's Dr. Stephanie Green. She practices in Gainesville, and we always joked about we were going to be Dr. Brown and Green, we'll make your teeth white. I I mean, you got to use what you have, right? All right. So the new patient process. And just play with me for a few minutes because this is basic, okay? So some shape, form, or fashion, the patient's going to call, walk in, somehow email to try to schedule some sort of an appointment. And then they're going to come in, hopefully, for some type of exam, consultation, something, some shape, form, or fashion. And then hopefully they're going to have some sort of treatment presented at some point, whether it's that day, whether it's another day. And then hopefully they're going to say yes to treatment and do it. And then become part of your practice on an ongoing basis or a continuing care basis to maintain what they've established. Okay, so this is the basic flow of patients. How do we take them through that process? How does the team take the patients through that process? Because yes, the dentist is involved at many of those steps, but not all of them, and not 100%. We need the team members. Well, the new patient phone call, the dentist calling before their appointment, the new patient coordinator or the dental assistant who's seeing the new patient. She's building those relationships. She's educating the patients. So how do we take them down the path so that the patients achieve the dentistry that they want and that they deserve? Well, let's look. If you want to build your practice, take photos. This is one of the single largest practice builders that I know of. Every single time we take more photos, we do more dentistry. You can bank on it. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be time-consuming. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can train your dental assistants or hygienists to take more photos, and I guarantee you will do more dentistry. And I'll tell you why. This isn't a photography course, but this is important. The reason why is because photos force you to look beyond the teeth. They force you to look at the big picture. They also help educate the patient on what's going on. In our office, we have 2 monitors, so we slide the pictures over to the other monitor so the patient can see. And I told you that I'm sort of a self-professed dental geek, and so I have a ton of pictures because we've been taking pictures for a long time. And so I have an archive of befores and afters. So if they come in with crowded teeth, I'm going to show them befores and afters. If they come in with spaces, I'm going to show them somebody that's similar to them. If they come in with worn teeth, I'm going to show them somebody that's similar to them. But what happens is you force yourself to look beyond the teeth. And the patients then start seeing what you're seeing. And they start saying, oh, what's that black thing? Oh, what's that crack? Oh, why is that yellow? What's that dark spot? And they start asking you for things that you never thought in a million years that they would ask for. I have patients every single day that start whitening, or they start Invisalign just because they see a photo, or just because we mention to them, have you ever thought about this? Or have you ever considered this? Or would you be interested if we could straighten your teeth to do this? So it's really simple to master photography. There's lots of uses for photography, and I'm going to show you in just a second a photo guide that I'm happy to send to you. And it's a great way to educate your team on how to take photos. So what do we use it for? Well, we use photography to educate patients. We can show them a picture of their teeth. We can show them a picture of someone else's teeth that's in a similar situation. We use it for internal marketing. The pictures can be hanging on the walls. They can be in a photo book. They can be on the computer, and when you present to them a treatment, you can show them pictures, their pictures or someone else's pictures. You can use it in treatment planning because now I don't have to have the patient sitting in front of me. I can quietly at my desk look at their photos and put together the most ideal treatment when I'm sitting quietly and I don't have the rush of the day. You can use it to present treatment. You can show them their pictures and you can say, you know, see how these gums are a little bit uneven on this side? You know, and look, here's a picture of somebody that has even gums. Or see how these teeth are more dominant and see how yours sort of fade away and you can't see them? So patients get it. They get it when we can show it to them. We can also use it as part of a legal record. Sometimes they do have short memories. And so having that documentation as part of their chart or their record is important. It also helps us get better. I'll remember when I first started in the AACD accreditation process and I started taking tons of pictures and I went back and started looking at it and really being critical of my own dentistry, and I thought, oh my gosh, who did that? Oops, it was me. It really helped me get better. It doesn't have to be costly or time consuming. I just encourage you to master the skills of photography because it will make a huge difference. So the more photos you take, the more dentistry you'll do. 3 simple ways to master photography is actually, the first one is to just take the photos. Take the photos. Train your team to take the photos. This is another thing that we do in our hands-on workshop. We actually put the cameras in the assistant's hand and we teach them. They do better than the dentist anyway. They love it because it's more expansion of their duties. It's more complex things that they get to practice and they get to master and that's new to them and fresh to them versus just using the suction all day, every day. The second way to master photography is to prepare the patient. You give them a point of reference. They don't always know what they're looking at. It amazes me sometimes when patients say, is that my mouth? Are those my teeth? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, you didn't know that? That looks just like you. But they don't recognize it because we do this every day and they don't. So give them a reference. You know, here's the right side, here's the left side. This is what's normal. Here's your smile. Give them a point of reference. And then present the treatment or the benefits. You know, Mrs. Jones, see that crack over there on that tooth? Well, the good news is that we can cover that tooth and protect it with a crown, with an onlay, with a whatever. So that's the good news. So help the patient see the possibility and create that awareness. Because when you do that, they're going to start asking you for things that you never dreamed. And it's about giving them the opportunity. You know, the reason we got into dentistry is not because some patients say no, but the reason why we got into dentistry is because a lot of patients will say yes. And so you're going to get some patients that say no, and that's okay. But the point is that you work with the ones that say yes. And the ones that say no maybe just need to KNOW more information or more time or more options. So helping to create that awareness. Here's the photo guide that I was telling you about. This breaks down different views. You may use these, you may use different ones. It doesn't matter. The point is that you're taking standard photos on your new patients or on every patient or existing patients, however it works best in your practice. I like them on all new patients, and inevitably, you know, when we don't take them on the one patient, that's the one patient that's interested in Invisalign or in cosmetic dentistry. And if you want to do more cosmetic dentistry, take more photos. Because that's what they see. That's what they see. I was out at the Scottsdale Center in August with Dr. Frank Spear, and he said, you know, a lot of people ask me, I can't take photos. Which ones do I take? Oh, I don't have time to do it. He said, you don't have time not to do it. And you can't afford not to do it. And I agree with that, 110%. You can't afford not to take photos. So get a camera. Start taking some pictures, practice on your team, develop your systems, and show them to patients. You'll get better and better. It's our job to educate them, and like Linda was saying earlier, of figuring out what we want and how we want our practice to be, and creating the practice of our dreams and our masterpiece, and helping to assume those patients into that, and helping guide them down the path versus letting them run the show. because they don't know what they don't know. And so it's us sort of guiding them and saying, hey, this is really in your best interest. Now, if it's a 21-year-old that hasn't had a restoration in their life, we're not taking impressions. I mean, there's reason. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. It varies because I do have teenagers that have TMJ issues or have had trauma. I had a girl the other day, she's 17, she slipped at work, 3 front teeth. She's got 2 that have had root canals and will have crowns, and the other one's an implant. So she's 17.
So you have to ask questions.
Yeah, yeah. So you just never know. And then I have people that are, 85 that don't have a single dental restoration, have all their natural teeth. So it's so variable. But getting that information up front, which is why it's important to have some sort of phone communication script so that you know and that your team is very knowledgeable and they can field those calls and get as much information as possible without making the new patient phone call 2 hours long. So this is a before and after. So if somebody comes in with an old partial, they don't like it. Okay, here, have you ever seen what dental implants look like? Okay, here, this patient was able to get rid of her partial that comes in and out, and now she brushes these teeth just like all of her other teeth. And I apologize for this projector, by the way. But, making it easy for them to say yes. And so after the new patient experience and after their initial phone call, then I sit down with them, and this is sort of where the rubber meets the road. And we start talking about, well, what do I see and what do I recommend? And I use Dr. Frank Spear's system for looking at teeth. And I tell the patients, we're going to look at your teeth from an aesthetic point of view of how your teeth look. And you know what, Mrs. Jones, I know you didn't come in asking me about, improving the way your teeth look, so we can certainly skip that if you'd like. But, there are some options to maybe improve the way things look. Would you like to hear those? And so I let them choose. I want to give them the opportunity to say yes. I think so many times as dentists, we don't ever give the patient the chance to say yes. We assume for whatever reason that they won't. And we don't give them an opportunity to say yes. So I show them their photos and we sort of walk through that. And then we talk about the function and how their teeth work and why they're worn or, what's happening. We also look at the structure of their teeth, the actual teeth themselves. Are they cracked? Do they have huge amalgams? Do they have decay? What's going on with the structure of their teeth? And then what's going on with the biology of their teeth, the substructure, their perio, their supporting bone. Do they have bone loss? Are they missing teeth? What's going on? And then I offer them the ideal treatment. I offer them what I would want someone to offer me if I was in their position. And then I try to show them some possibilities of what's possible. A lot of times patients just don't even realize what modern dentistry can offer. They've never, they might have heard about dental implants or Invisalign or crowns, but they don't really understand it. And so it's our job to show them those possibilities. And then I want to make it easy. So whether we use Care Credit, whether we phase dentistry, whether we, use their flex spending account, whatever. However it needs to work to make it easy for them to accomplish the best ideal treatment. Now, I practice realistically. I'm not pie in the sky, oh, smell me. No, that's not how I operate. It's about offering the best and letting them choose. If they can't have the best, then what can they do? Can they break it up? Can they do it over time? Can we find another alternative that's going to be equally as good? It's about finding those solutions and finding those possibilities. So I know that a lot of times patients don't necessarily want to return for a second appointment, but when they find out that it's in their best interest, because now I'm going to have time to sit down and study their case, then they're usually agreeable to it. Or we can combine it with their hygiene appointment or their periodontal therapy. How many of you are using the oral DNA bacterial testing? Anybody? 1, 2, 3? It's awesome. Are you loving it? Yeah. Hey, the rest of you that don't know about it, oraldna.com, write this down. I don't get anything from Oral DNA for saying this. They have a swish and spit saliva test that will give you the levels of the 11 pathogenic bacteria as well as recommendations for antibiotics that work on those bacteria. It's awesome. I've always been very proactive on treating periodontal disease, but now it's just like x-rays, it's just like the intraoral camera. Now I have something that I can show the patients and that I can see what I couldn't see before. So the tests are exclusive through Henry Schein. You buy, 12 kits, whatever, you send them off. I think it ends up costing you about $120 for the whole test. So we charge the patient, I think, $175. It's fantastic. I've been using it for the last 2 years. It really has revolutionized what we're able to do with our periodontal therapy, and we're seeing such great results and so much better than where we were 2 years ago. So if you haven't seen that, talk to your Schein rep, talk to Oral DNA. They're happy to come talk to you about that. Yes?
Is that equivalent to
The reasons for having this separate consult. Well, one of the reasons is it allows me to put together my thoughts and to come up with an ideal treatment plan. Because on the fly, I can't decide what's going to work best. I can't see all the detail that I need to see and sit down and study. And so it allows me to sort of put together my thoughts and come up with the best options. Because when I first started practicing dentistry, I got into the trap of, there's a cracked tooth, let's do a crown. There's a hole, let's fill it. And when you get in that trap, and not that that's bad, but what happens is then you paint yourself in a corner. Because let's say the patient has some TMJ issues or some wear issues, and you do one crown this year, and you do another crown next year, and you do a third crown the next year. And then guess what? Things start breaking down. Well, guess who they're blaming? Doctor, that crown that you put in, your crown, is breaking down. And so I've found that it's much more predictable for me to do my homework up front and know what I'm dealing with and say to the patient, Mrs. Jones, you have a heavy bite. You have severe wear on your teeth. Whatever I use is going to break down faster than in somebody who doesn't have that same situation. So now I'm not painting myself in the corner, and I give them the option to choose. Well, maybe we use provisionals to nurse it along. Maybe we use a transitional night guard to nurse you along and buy some time. Not everybody's a full mouth reconstruction. I know that. But it's about doing the right thing and the best thing for the patient. So it allows me to evaluate their situation. It also allows the patient the time to sort of consider their budget and what they want. Because some of those things that we talk about at the new patient experience, they get to go home and kind of think about, so that when we get back together and meet, then we get to finalize those details and finalize what they want. It also allows them, like I said earlier, to combine their hygiene appointment or their periodontal therapy with that consult appointment. So I know that not everybody wants to return for a second consult, but I think most people are reasonable, and when they figure out that it's in their best interest, they will. So how do we create the awareness for patients? And how do we take a patient that's totally unaware that they have problems or dental disease without overwhelming them and without scaring them to death? How do we take them from being unaware to being aware? Well, that's a talent, and it's a skill that's developed over time, because I can promise you I've overwhelmed some people in my day. Well, one of the ways we do this is we use photography. The other thing that we do is we learn to talk to patients so that we are the reporter, and that we're not only telling them bad news, because in dental school, what do you get? Bad news, right? They say, well, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. You got to go back and do that. Re-wax that. Redo that, right? And we survive that with a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder. I remember. I was there. It took me a long time and a lot of therapy to overcome that. But if we do that to patients and we beat them up like they beat us up in dental school, who likes that? We're glutton for punishment. We as dentists are into delayed gratification, but patients aren't. And so we've got to meet them where they are. And so one of the ways we do that is we start talking to them in a way that they can understand, and we want to ask them what they want, and we want their input. And no, they may not know exactly what they need, but it's our job to help mold and put that together. And we want to share with them the possibilities and give them the opportunity to say yes. So case acceptance is certainly a process. It's not an event. There's the new patient experience. There's the diagnosis. And this is what dental school is really good on teaching us. They teach us how to find things that are wrong and how to diagnose. The part that's missing in dental school, because there's just not enough time and resources to do it, you cannot possibly learn everything you're ever going to know in dentistry in 4 years. That's sort of where dental school leaves off and your postgraduate education starts. And then we present treatment. And then the patient does the treatment. So it's not an event, it's a process. And it's enhanced every step along the way when our team members are better communicators and we're better communicators and we're better leaders in our practice. So it's about creating awareness. This isn't about my dentistry. You guys could do this dentistry too. This is about using photography and using the trial smile as a tool. So let's walk through this. Here's the before. So this is actually my great aunt who married my great uncle after he was married to a lady for 60 years. His wife of 60 years passed away, and in 6 months he married this gal. Well, they are like two teenagers. And he said, they were up visiting, and he said, "Can you look at Jeanette's teeth?" And I said, "Sure, I'm happy to." And I always knew they weren't very attractive, but you know, it's kind of rude to go up to people and say, "Here, let me see your teeth," you know, when you're at a family event. And so this is what her teeth look like. Do you know what her complaint was? It wasn't the aesthetics. She had a partial that was where she wasn't actually going around like this. She had a partial that was replacing these. But do you know what her complaint was? Color. No, not color. Do you know what her complaint was? When they went out to dinner, she was still at the table eating because she couldn't eat. And he was finished. That was her complaint. So here's her some occlusal view. You know, there's food impaction. She's got broken teeth. She's got missing teeth. She's got recurrent decay, open margins. You name it, she's got it. Here's the lower. Do you think there's some tooth wear there? She's got missing teeth. She's got a root tip that's broken off. Her partial has been added to 800 times. There's her partials. So here's her trial smile. When she sat up and saw that, she was like, "You mean that I don't have to wear a partial anymore?" I said, "Yep, Jeanette, you don't have to wear a partial." I said, "We can make these teeth stay in your mouth." Well, guess what she decided to do? All of it. She did it. She did both arches. She's 85. She did both arches. Now, I know it's not ideal. She's got missing teeth. There's a class 3. She's still missing this tooth. Her periodontist in Atlanta is going to place that lower right implant. But how much better is she now? And she can chew and she can function. And her looks, everybody says, "Gosh, you look 10 years younger." So here's her before and after. Huge difference. I couldn't have done that with 1 crown or 2 crowns or 1 bridge. Aren't they sweet? They're a hoot. They're a hoot. So you just never know what makes your patient say yes. But the more you have that relationship and the more they trust you, the more they will say yes and the more you can find solutions for them. So we connect the dots with communication to our team and to our patients, and we improve our case acceptance.